Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Louise.
I can't believe it. We're here for the conclusion of this wonderful book by A.M. Holmes, The Mistress's Daughter.
I know. I like when any good book comes to an end, it just feels like such a loss.
It is a loss.
You
It's
know,
like
just
the
I
end
think
of a
that's why we
Netflix
dragged
show.
it out so long. Is it because we could have finished it a few weeks ago, but it was just
Yeah.
savoring her writing and
Kudos to
yeah,
the writing. I mean, really, it's so
yeah.
well
And
written.
we really, along with just respecting you as a person, we
Mhm.
know we are just adore your writing.
Yeah.
If you're
We've
listening, I'm hi.
so the last two little sections of this, the first one's called like an episode of LA Law, which I love the titles. I mean,
Yeah.
and she does a whole, guessing if she were to get her biological father into court in a deposition saying, "Are you my father?" And it's got some great one-liners. It's very
It's an
rich.
imagined,
Hmm.
but at the conclusion of that particular section, we don't know what she did. If in fact she sued him to get those DNA results or
Yeah.
not.
No, it's very vague, I think on purpose, probably.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, uh, it's kind of a long section for us to like say what was said, but there's a lot of great, like, so are you her father? And do you have other children? Do you know if you have other children? I mean, just some
Do
of
you
this stuff.
have yes, and were you still attracted to Mrs. Baum and her mother, and just like getting really
Do you
into the
find yourself
gritty.
to be a good father? I mean,
Yeah.
just all the questions that she's had about him. So it's a fun read, like almost a different part of the book. It's written a little bit differently.
Mhm.
And then we get into the very last part. And this part made me cry. I don't know.
Yes, this was really touching. She talks about her adoptive grandmother.
Mhm.
Um, and it's I remember, when I first had Becker and I heard that expression, the grand parents and grandchildren, that they connect so much because they have a common enemy.
I haven't heard that. That's funny. That is
Yeah.
actually true.
So and I really was close to my adoptive grandmother too. She died at 101.
I remember
Um,
you would talk about her. And I was too. I'm named after her. And that's Jack is was very close to my mom, to my adopted mom, to his
yeah.
grandmother. Huh. The common
So,
enemy. I like that, Sarah.
um, so I mean, this is really just about connecting, it's just paying homage to her,
Hmm.
but also thinking of narratives and, growing up. She said she wasn't sure about whether or not she could absorb that family history.
Yeah.
And, we have talked about this a lot
Yes.
about how, your family did a family tree, and then your uncle said, no, you're part of it or whatever that was.
I had a
But
red circle. Yeah, there's a line here where I wrote, "Oh, me and Sarah." I wrote both of us. She said exactly what you said. I was never sure about whether or not I could absorb the family history. At family gatherings, great aunts and uncles around the world would pull their chairs in close and tell the stories, and she absorbed it. And it's her history, but not her family. And you get caught up in it because it's part of. I mean, like she said, they would sit around her grandmother's table. That's the title of this section. She had this table where everything took place, and she is part of it. She's in the family. But when they talk about that, she felt, what was the word she used? Oh, we we are your family. Believe me, my mother would say. I wanted to believe, but something felt off and organic.
mm-hmm.
I like how she wrote that because you are part of it and you're laughing and you're with everybody. You don't know any different. It's your family, but deep inside you're like, but not really. I mean, what adoptees know and don't know is a big thing, whether they voice it or not. I felt like I always had that inside.
Yes. Also, I thought it was interesting that her adoptive mother chose not to share about
Yeah.
AM's, connecting with her biological family.
With the grandmother.
They didn't share that with
Oh,
the grandmother, her grandmother with whom she was very close wasn't privy to that information.
yeah.
Like her mother deliberately kept it from her.
Yeah. And she was the person she talked to the most and was with all her faculties, and they were very close and spoke all the time. Yeah. I
She
wonder why.
inherited the table,
Yeah.
which, is kind of like a metaphor throughout this chapter
Mhm.
too. And there were a few things that I did because it was, well, her grandmother died when she was 99.
Yeah.
But I like, where it says where she says, I see now that I'm a product of each of my family narratives, some more than others, but in the end, it is all four threads that twist and rub against one another, the fusion and friction combining to make me who I am and what I am. And not only am I a product of these four narratives, I am also influenced by another narrative, the story of what it is to be the adopted one, the chosen one, the outsider brought in.
Mm. God, so I'm just like absorbing that. I've read it, and now that you say it, I feel like every adoptee is going to go, okay, I need to read this book just for that.
Mhm. And then it was the death of her grandmother that compelled
Mhm.
her to have a child of her own. It's so
Oh,
interesting that her adoptive mother, of course,
yeah.
and you could
The
just hear this
line.
twinge of, and I don't know what word I'm seeking, but just a twinge of something when she's like, what is an adoption good enough for you?
I knew you were going to highlight that.
Not
She was having a
getting the
problem getting pregnant, and that's the question. What,
right.
adoption's not good enough for you? It's like, well, no, it's connection. I think it's connection, but she didn't have the words either to say, you know.
Or just, yeah, like more of I think it like a need. She said she felt compelled to try her hardest to issue a biological echo, to see myself before myself, writ large and small, and as fully related as one can ever be.
Mhm.
You know, again, like people who don't grow up with their biology, who've never had their biology, it's so, for some of us, I'm not saying all adoptees, but for many of us, that is a strong
Yes. Pull.
urge to
Mhm.
have the connection, the strongest biological connection.
And what's interesting about it, it's the strongest urge. And yet we all have the fear that we have the abandonment and fear part of being close to other people. So
Well, yeah.
it's so big, right? It's
She
like,
says that I had
mhm.
motherhood was something that terrified me. I have a great fear of attachment and an equally constant fear of loss. I'm not sure if this is true for everyone, but for me, the ghost of the dead brother still and always looms.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because I bet you when she was writing this book, she didn't really know any other adoptees, and there wasn't social media, and there wasn't
Yeah.
a big conversation out there about it.
When we spoke to her, she said it was one of the first times she had had that kind of
Right.
conversation
That's right. Yeah.
with adoptees. And you and I are lucky we have them all the time now, but
Yeah.
not everybody does. I have friends I know who don't. And, that's why these podcasts it's so important to do the reading, the memoirs, and read out, even if you're an adoptee out there and you don't know how you feel, reading other people's memoirs really helps. I mean, for me, it gives words to things that I'm like always searching for,
Hmm.
you know?
I think I want to go back and listen to her episode again
Me too.
after this.
Let's do it this week, because next week we'll
Yes.
do our wrap up and stuff.
Yes. That's okay. So I just wanted to
Yep.
read the last line of the book.
That's the best.
I know. Because, listeners, if you remember, AM was found. She didn't seek.
Mhm.
So did I choose to be found? No. Do I regret it? No. I couldn't not know.
Yep.
I couldn't not know.
I'm the same. Look at, I put huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. This is
Okay.
just,
So that said, next week,
mhm.
we're just going to do kind of I don't know how to put it, like a unwinding and just regrouping. We're going to
A re-
regroup
Mhm.
before we head on to our next book. But
Another
yeah,
adoptee memoir. It will be great.
another adoptee memoir. We're going to talk about this. We're going to just sort of recap AM's book, talk about where we're going,
Mhm.
and yeah, and that's it. And we have a good great guest coming.
Oh, we have I think everyone's going to love her. This is a big story, actually.
Yes,
Excited. All
me
right.
too.
See
All
you in a
right. See you
minute.
in a minute.